Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 141. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So we're going to have episodes for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll be off December 24th and December 31st because of the holiday, of course. I know we've been off 2 weeks, so we're a little bit rusty.
I feel alert.
Yeah, I feel chill because I was just taking a nap before we got on. I didn't make it to the Zoom this week because I had an appointment on Wednesday when we have it, so we're not going to have Zoom excerpts. And I missed some good stuff. I'm sorry to our Zoom friends that I wasn't there.
Well, we have 20 million royal stories.
We did.
It's been so busy this week.
It's been crazy this week. I wanted to give an update on my dog because I love talking about my dog, and at least one person likes hearing about it. I have been taking him to the dog park almost every day, and he loves it, and he does great. He got slandered, I think, by that puppy kindergarten that kicked him out, but he's doing good at the dog park. He loves playing with the other dogs.
I saw you tweeting about how you know the dogs' names, but not their moms' names.
Yeah, it's so easy to remember the dogs' names, but the people I don't really remember who they are.
Yeah, and I never ask for the moms' names. I'm like, oh, there's Theo. There's my little friend, Doggy Theo.
Yes.
I have no idea what his mom's name is.
Exactly. I forget what the people names are because I'm not as interested in them as their dogs. And that happened to me, too, where this woman was like, oh, I remember your dog from last... I'm like, oh, okay. Everybody remembers my dog over me, which is fine because he's got a good personality. But he's really well behaved, except he has eaten 3 beds now. Like, he lasted a long time with his first bed.
Well, he's got to do something.
He eats the boosted bed, fluffy beds he eats. So now I gave him flat beds, and he's not really eating those, although he has ripped at them, but...
He needs some toys. He needs a couch.
He has like a freaking million toys. You should see some toys. You should see how many toys this dog has. But he's doing fine.
Poor Remy.
Oh, the poor dog is neglected. I'm trying doggy daycare again next week. I don't think I'm going to disclose that he got kicked out of puppy kindergarten. There was like a part of
It's a clean slate.
I'm going to forget it. There was a part of the questionnaire at the beginning was like, has he ever been expelled? I'm like, no, I don't think we have to mention that. Even though I tell everybody about it. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to tell him.
It's not like people. There's not some database where like doggy records are kept about whether or not this dog has been expelled from whatever daycare.
They're not gonna
doggy
know.
camp.
I forgot to fill that out. I meant to fill that out later, and I left it blank. I'm gonna leave that blank. You've been watching, and a lot of our friends are watching Wednesday, the Wednesday Addams like series on Netflix, and I watched the first 3 episodes after your article, and I loved it. It's so cute.
It really is. It's not your mother's Wednesday Addams or Addams Family. It's not like that at all. It has the same spirit, I would say. But yeah, it is kind of like CW, and it's for kids. It's for teens. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
It's adorable.
I thought Jenna Ortega, she did a great job. I mean, really fantastic job as Wednesday Addams. And her little friend, Enid the werewolf, she's adorable. So cute.
I even like Catherine Zeta-Jones, like she was good as the mom. And
I could kind of take or leave the
adults.
Catherine Zeta. Yeah, okay. The adults. Well, I loved Gwendolyn Christie. I thought she was great.
Christina Ricci.
All the kids are great. And I like the 2 young guys that are
That's so cute, that little love triangle going on. No spoilers. But yeah, I like that too. It's adorable. I wish the Munsters would get this treatment because it said they got this terrible Rob Zombie thing. Like, I didn't watch it, but I just saw the trailers and it looks so bad. I used to love the Munsters when I was little. I would watch them on TV in reruns. I'm not that old, but
I don't remember that. I mean, I don't remember ever watching them.
Yeah.
But I remember watching reruns of The Addams Family. And that already had a revival, with Christina Ricci playing Wednesday and
oh yeah, in the 90s.
Raul Julia and Angelica Houston.
I remember that vaguely.
It was really good.
So I heard that your mom got COVID.
Yeah. So we spent hours together for Thanksgiving. Like, she called me the next day. She's like, I have COVID.
Oh my God.
I tested positive for COVID. And she felt like hell for about 3 days. And then she just started getting a lot better. And she's all vaccinated and boosted. And so she's fine, like, in general. She felt like it was just going to cycle out of her in a few days. And it did.
That's good. It's scary when your parents get it, especially. My mom has this cough that won't go away. Like, she's got all her boosters and everything too, but she's had a cough for months.
Yeah, sometimes that just happens though.
Yeah.
When I had like a bad flu or really heavy cold, I couldn't get rid of a cough for months.
That's what the people at the ENT told her too. They said that we have a lot of patients who have an ongoing cough and we're not worried that it's COVID. Don't worry. But it's scary. Knock wood, I don't think I've had it yet, but everybody's getting sick, like, that I know, Yeah,
I had something this spring, and I was like, was that COVID? And I never tested myself. It probably was not.
I've been taking the tests because I order them all from the government. I have like 8 right now at my house. But
I know, yeah. Joe Biden sends them out, so then they're free, so why not?
Not anymore. I got the last, like when they had the last range of them, I got them.
Well, I did take one of the free tests after my mom tested positive because I was like, holy shit, we were together for hours and we were like in a closed car. But I didn't test positive. So.
All right, well, let's talk about the Royals. We got a lot to cover. So it's Thursday and the Earthshot Awards are tomorrow, but you were telling me earlier before we turned our mics on that they're not going to air until like next week on PBS because they're probably going to edit the shit out of them.
Yeah, it's not going to air live. Yeah, we don't have to watch it. We'll get photos from it because we got photos the last time around. Okay. Like, the night of. So I'll probably cover some of it this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't really care. Like, I'm covering the Will and Kate stuff because it's interesting and because it's another flop tour. I don't really care about the fashion. I don't care about, like, the superficial shit. I just want to cover them doing a really bad job.
So they're in Boston right now. They got booed at the Celtics game when they were shown on the Jumbotron. And before that, they were at an event where a Black reverend talked about the legacy of colonialism and racism, which, of course, is, like, doubly applicable when those people are in the room. And the British tabloids ran it as, like, oh, that's an attack on Will and Kate. And like, I wanted to quote what you wrote about it because it was so true and funny. And you wrote, well done to William and Kate. They've positioned themselves so precariously that if anyone around them mentions the words racism or colonialism, it's taken as a personal attack. Welcome to America, where regular people of all races have conversations every day about white privilege, racism, oppression, colonialism, and class.
It's true.
Yeah, it's very true.
And hit dogs holler.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're just going to like freak out whenever anyone mentions racism or colonialism, you're saying that that's what William and Kate are all about.
It is what they're all. I mean, we'll talk a little bit more later when we get to it about the racist incident at the palace, because we have all this other crap to cover. And that's a huge story on its own, too. But yeah, hit dogs holler. So before they went to Boston, there were so many ridiculous hype stories about them. Like, they called it William's Super Bowl moment. And that was their official fucking talking point because the British ambassador to the U.S. said that.
It kept getting repeated in all of these press pieces. So it was either in the Kensington Palace press release or their press secretary was just literally telling people that this is William's Super Bowl moment. This is going to be like the Super Bowl for Prince William. No, it's not. Oh my God. But like, I wanted to ask you something. Do you think that he keeps mentioning the Super Bowl because Harry went to the Super Bowl?
That was a good point. I was reading where you made that thing. I think they're just so dumb that they think that that's the biggest American thing there is. So they're like, we're having a big American thing too. We'll compare it to the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think he has any grasp or understanding of American sports. Not that I should talk.
He could say like the Oscars or like, this is, my equivalent of the SAG Awards.
The Oscars make more sense because they're more like the Golden Globes.
But like, you're actually handing out awards. So wouldn't you compare it to another award ceremony? So I keep coming back to, why is he saying the Super Bowl, really? And I do think that it's a factor that Harry went to the Super Bowl.
It was, and his cousin was there too. But it's like, I think it's just because that's the biggest American event they can come up with. But you're right, it's an award show. It's not a sports thing. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
It is dumb. And to keep on repeating it.
And the big thing about the Super Bowl is the commercials too. And this is like a charity event. It makes zero sense. Whatever.
But it's not even a charity fundraiser, too. The levels of bullshit around the Earthshot Awards. This isn't a fundraiser. He's got all of these corporate donors, and he is burning through their money just to embiggen himself. It's all of this self-aggrandizement for William. It's, look at me, I'm so important. I'm bigger than the Super Bowl,
And they've been saying it's going to be better than the Ripple of Hope Awards, which are the awards that Harry and Meghan are getting from the Kennedys next week. Why would you brag about how much money you're spending on an ecological awards ceremony?
None of the branding makes any sense.
No.
It never has, but I don't think it was this bad last year. The last Earthshot Awards, they weren't this out of touch.
It could have been because of the pandemic, too. Like, that necessarily tamped them down.
I guess. Well, I mean, the award show in London last year was sparsely attended.
Yeah.
Barely anyone came to that.
To be fair, we weren't having a lot of award shows last year around this time. It took a while for them to ramp up again. But yeah, I mean, it's dumb. It's a waste of money, and it's not going to get much attention. And the New York Times ran a piece where they quoted a Boston University historian. He said that the Waleses needed to, quote, maintain a sense of relevance and justify their existence, which is what he said this trip is about, is true.
Yeah. It's not about saving the environment. It's about saving the monarchy and saving William and Kate's reputation.
And it's about trying to one-up his brother and sister-in-law when they're trying to highlight charities and just
exist and thrive in America.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing, is existing and thriving in America. They don't want any part of the psychodrama in Salt Island. They're like, please just leave us alone. And William and Kate are like, no, we're so much better than Harry and Meghan. Here are all the reasons why.
Yeah. And Harry and Meghan are just kind of doing their thing. So Meghan had a speech that she gave at a fundraising dinner in Indiana for the Women's Fund of Central Indiana. And all we got was like a picture and a vague account because there was a media blackout. That was great. Kind of boss of her. Yeah.
And the British media was like, oh, she might have gotten paid $1 million for this. I bet you anything that Meghan really just got travel expenses. She just got travel expenses comped, and she probably didn't take a fee.
So much drama. And like, she helped serve Thanksgiving dinner for Downtown Women's Center in LA. And that's the kind of thing they do. They're like, oh, here's this charity that we support. Maybe you should learn more about them and help them out. Mm-hmm. And the Keens are like, we're so awesome. Look at us.
And she also donated 500 purses to her British charity.
Oh, the
SmartWorks.
Yes. They're nice purses, too, those totes. I like them. But I like what you wrote, too. I would like it in black.
Yeah. I hope they offer different colors.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do, though.
But that's a good idea. Like, they gave them outfits. Now they're giving them purses. It's smart.
Yeah. It's really nice. And it just shows that Meghan brings things. She brings shit to the table. Physically, she brings shit to the table. While William and Kate show up empty-handed when they're meeting refugee children. They
Yeah.
can't even bring toys for refugee children.
Yeah. Or like during the pandemic when they went to Scotland.
It was the COVID choo-choo tour.
When they flouted the Scottish COVID regulations. And the Prime Minister was like, yeah, we don't really want them here, but what can we do?
And Scottish people kept on calling the cops on them, saying that they were flouting COVID regulations.
They didn't bring shit with them. And they were meeting with like first responders and stuff too.
Maskless.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so cold that you could see their breasts. And
Jesus Christ.
That was in the winter of 2020. That wasn't last year.
No, that was before we got the vaccines. Yeah.
Exactly. Vaccines were widely available and they were like running around maskless, breathing on everyone.
People forget about that because they didn't get called out enough for it. They totally deserve to get booed. And I'm glad that the general sentiment in America is like, fuck these people. We don't want them here. I think the average American knows, like, yeah. Anyway. So we also got a teaser for Harry and Meghan's Netflix docuseries. It looks so good. Amazing. It's just called Harry and Meghan.
I like that. I like the name, the simplicity of it. Don't use their titles. I mean, I believe that they have every right to use their titles whenever and wherever they want, especially Meghan. Like, that's her married name.
Yeah.
Don't tell her that she can't use her married name. But I like that they didn't give that to their haters, that they didn't use like, oh, the Sussex story or something like that. It's just Harry and Meghan, and that's their brand.
And we got like new pictures of them in the trailer and just a couple brief
so many new photos.
Statements. Yeah, they're so cute together. Yeah, and it's like what Meghan was saying before, she wants to tell their love story. She was saying that in one of her print interviews. And good, I hope we see it. You know, I'm excited for that. It's coming out December 8th.
I think it's going to be more than just their love story, too. I mean, just like how emotional they looked in the trailer, and like it looks like Meghan is crying at different points. It looks to me like it has the same sort of energy as Harry's 2-camera interviews in the Me You Can't See, where he's like talking in depth about like, yeah, understanding that his mother was in a relationship with
man of color.
Muhammad, a man of color, and believing, I think, quite credibly believing that they were trying to kill Meghan, that they wanted Meghan to die. And I feel like that's going to be the energy that Harry brings to this Netflix series.
So one thing that people are bringing up again, which I forgot about, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast, is how Meghan's dog's legs were broken.
Yeah.
It was super suspicious when it happened.
It was. That happened. It was before the wedding, wasn't it?
December 2017.
Yeah, so before the wedding. There's just been all of these really like suspicious stories, like the stuff that she talked about with Archie in South Africa.
Yeah, and the fire in his nursery. And like they kept her name off the baby's birth certificate and stuff like that. Oh my God.
That is upsetting. And there are so many of those stories that she's dropped, you know, here and there over the past few years. And it's just like, oh, holy shit. They were treating her so badly. They were gaslighting her. They were abusing her. And I remember when I was like covering it, especially when the smear campaign like really ramped up in late 2018 and early 2019.
When she was pregnant.
Yeah, when she was pregnant, I just kept feeling like, oh, they think that Meghan is solely theirs to abuse. And they don't understand that everyone can see what they're doing to her.
Yeah.
And it still bugs me, like, to think about that, like how alone she felt.
It seems like only the Trumpers believe it at this point in America. I actually had a confrontation with a woman, and I left a luncheon where she was insisting that Meghan was a narcissist. And she brought it up apropos of nothing. She had no idea it was my job. And I told her to give me examples. And her example, she said she had the church fumigated. before her wedding. And I said she wanted diptyque candles at her wedding. And then I was like, give me another example. And the next example this woman gave, I shit you not, she said that Meghan rolled the window down of a car that was like a secure car to wave to people. And I was like, well, how is that being a narcissist just saying hi?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, she went against the queen because it was like a secure car. I was like, whoa, how? And I really called her on her bullshit. I was like, well, it's really racist what they're doing to her in the UK. And she's like, yeah, it is racist. I'm thinking, well, you're a racist bitch too. So I ended up just leaving. But it was like a meetup luncheon. It was ridiculous. And I went and told all our friends in the group chat, and they were like, you were right and stuff, you know. So it was a lot.
I remember that rolling the window down thing. That happened at the Jubilee, and a lot of the reporters were talking about it. So that was a talking point that...
This woman watched Fox News for sure. I'm sure she had like a bunch of other like Tucker Carlson bullshit she could spout from, you know, just memorizing it. But yeah.
It was a very Piers Morgan, Richard Palmer complaint.
Yeah, she's...
That Meghan briefly rolled down her window to wave at some people.
Her digressions are so minor, it's like a fucking joke. Like, she is so classy.
Oh, yeah. If I was in Meghan's position...
Oh, my God, yeah, same.
I would have named every name.
Oh, fuck
I would have been, like, writing a memoir and saying, like, this is the name of... This person did this to me. Fuck this person with a fucking chainsaw.
Same.
I hate them.
I mean, I wouldn't be as bad as you because we know that you are much more blunt than I am. That's why we work well together. But yeah, I was same. The amount of restraint and class and just, she's an amazing woman. And so anyway, we should talk about this next story. So there was an activist named Ngozi Fulani. She was invited to a reception at Buckingham Palace. And she founded Sista Space, which supports African and Caribbean heritage women affected by domestic violence. And you guys know what happened because you read us. But to introduce this story, I wanted to play this segment from a video that she posted on their Instagram before the event.
Today I'm off to Buckingham Palace representing Sista Space. I received an invitation via Safe Lives. Their patron is the Queen Consort. So I'll be representing today. It's all about domestic abuse. It's all about the 16 days of activism.
It just makes me sad. She was so optimistic going into Buckingham Palace. She thought she was going to be amongst peers.
And she was, amongst peers.
That she was going to make good contacts and see some of her friends in the, the domestic violence community. Advocacy work.
Yeah.
She thought that she was going to be treated with respect like her peers. And then this happened.
So, Fulani was accosted by one of Camilla's aides, and this was a woman named Lady Susan Hussey, which that name is like too perfect. And she touched her hair. She repeatedly asked her where she was from, like, where are you really from? And she wouldn't accept the answer that she was British. And Ngozi posted a transcript of it to Twitter. And then after that, Hussey resigned, and Camilla's office issued a statement calling this unacceptable and deeply regrettable, and claiming that they reached out to Ngozi and, quote, inviting her to discuss all elements of her experience in person if she wishes. But they never contacted her. She told the press that they never contacted her.
Yeah, no one contacted Fulani directly. No one from the palace, not Camilla, not Camilla's private secretary, not Susan Hussey. No one called her to apologize, to say, please come back to Buckingham Palace and just talk to us. We should learn from you and please come back so we can treat you with the respect you deserve.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. But the way they wrote it, you wrote this line about it. You said, come and tell us about how the Queen's Lady-in-Waiting was a huge racist asshole to you. Let us feed on your pain like vampires. That's how it read, their statement about it.
It was patronizing in the sense of, you were there. You know what fucking happened. This person works for you. I shouldn't have to come back to the palace and tell you, that you were racist to me.
I'm sure they would gaslight her anyway.
Exactly.
The recollections may vary, shit they did with Harry and Meghan.
And that's why I'm so glad for how Fulani dealt with it, that she put it on social media, and that she was immediately believed, and that journalists had her back immediately, that, media outlets were contacting her.
This is literally her life's work.
Exactly.
I mean, imagine all the other fucking people that have had this happen to them.
Well, so I just saw this like about an hour before we came on. There's a Crown prosecutor, which in America would be like the equivalent of a district attorney.
Okay.
A Crown prosecutor said, "Oh, actually, Susan Hussey did the exact same thing to me when I met her."
God.
I think he's like British Pakistani or British Indian. And he was like, she just would not believe that I was a British citizen. And he's a lawyer. And I mean, I've talked about this before. That shit happens to me. It happens to every person of color. Usually people stop at one or two questions. It's, where are you from? Oh, but what is your ethnicity?
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll try to get more specific when I say I'm from Virginia,
Right.
And they'll say, oh, what kind of name is that? That's a very common question. And I'll just usually say it's an Indian name. Oh, so are you? And I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's none of your fucking business. And I just barely met you,
Well, you would not believe how many times I'll say it's an Indian name and they'll go, oh, Native American? I'm like, no, for the love of God.
So Fulani has done a couple interviews since. And she has said that, we shouldn't vilify Hussey. She didn't want to name her. Other people named her.
Yeah, she called her Lady SH.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, so that's Susan Hussey, huh?
Yeah, we know her. And she's called her, an elder, and said she's somebody of senior years and we shouldn't vilify her. And she kind of said that the palace was taking the easy way out by letting her resign and not facing the larger issue.
And Fulani isn't vilifying Hussey, but she's also not like excusing her. She's like, yeah, she's an elder. We should treat her with respect, but we shouldn't excuse her racism.
Yeah, and she said it's ageist to excuse her racism and to give her a pass for that as well.
Yeah, and Fulani said that she would be happy to come to Buckingham Palace and do diversity training with all of the staff and the royals.
I mean, she does that. I was looking at their Instagram for Sister Space, and she was advocating for a new law that would do diversity training for first responders for police because of this young woman who died after a domestic incident that police didn't respond to because they classified it the wrong way as like a property injury instead of a personal injury. And she's been advocating for diversity training for police. So she knows exactly what she's doing with this.
Exactly. And I liked the point that she made about Hussey shouldn't have to resign, but she should never be in a public facing role.
No, exactly.
Ever again. And like, but when you get into that, like when you start pulling at that thread, like, should Charles be in a public facing role? Should Camilla be in a public facing role? These are the people. Like, these are the people that the royals have in public-facing roles, and they're terrible at it. And they're
exactly
contemptible, racist.
And unwilling to acknowledge that racism. And anyway, even the younger one, even William is unwilling to acknowledge. The only one who has acknowledged it is Harry. So, Hussey is Prince William's godmother.
Yeah.
And she is 83 years old, and Charles asked her to stay on and keep working after the Queen died. And she was one of the Queen's favorites. There's like tons of pictures of her and the Queen.
Yeah, Hussey was with the Queen. She rode with the Queen at Philip's funeral. Like, that's how tight they were.
They know this woman is like this, and they don't care. And they've not just given her a pass, they've given her a platform to do this to people.
And there's a Telegraph piece that I'm probably going to cover for tomorrow. Camilla Tominey is basically arguing that this was just a one-time thing for Hussey, that she has an impeccable record. She shouldn't have to resign.
No, there was that article on page 6 where they're like, oh, she does that to everybody. She asks everybody where they're from. She does it to the people of color. You remember that Tom Bauer had a quote from her in his revenge book saying that the Sussexes would, quote, end in tears.
Yep.
I would say it's on the record because he named her, but she gave those quotes to the National Theater Board when they were considering having Meghan as their patron, because she has experience, and they did have Meghan as their patron. And after that, they kept her on. They sanctioned these comments about Harry's wife.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's like Camilla working with that Angela Levin bitch. She's as racist as they come. And Camilla selected Levin as her official biographer. This is just that in a different form.
Yeah.
They've known who Susan Hussey is. They've known her opinions. They know her behavior.
She's 83 years old. So, and she's still working there. So Mandu Reid is the leader of the British Women's Equality Party, and she was right there with Fulani when this happened to her. And she did an interview where she described what happened and completely backed up everything, said it was a prolonged interaction, that the atmosphere changed after that. They felt like they were trespassers in that space. And she also said what Fulani's been saying, that this shows that the royal family needs to acknowledge institutional racism and commit to changing that culture instead of just like, oh, the bad apple thing. It's not just the bad apple, it's the whole
system.
System. And I wanted to play this segment from her interview. This is an interview with 5 News. She was asked about Meghan and Harry's accounts of racism in the royal family.
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot today. I think it really validates the account Meghan Markle and Prince Harry gave of their experiences. Bear in mind, I was at a reception which just lasted a few hours over an afternoon. Imagine dealing with similar dynamics over days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months. It kind of corroborates what they explained they had to endure and deal with. And I think it's a demonstration of how serious this is, how much of a big issue it is, and how it needs a response that's more substantive than symbolic.
People who watch the royals like us, we know that this has been happening. And I like how you cover this because, you know, on one hand, it's kind of funny to see it get out in the open, but the fact that people still have to deal with racism at the palace is despicable.
It is. And yeah, that's the two sides of like, I feel so bad for Fulani, and I feel so bad for every woman of color, every person of color who's had to deal with these despicable people.
Yeah.
And like, I understand like the weight of having to deal with this day after day, and like, I can't enter this space without people questioning my citizenship and my existence. Like, that part of it is just horrible. And then there is like this moment of genuine levity of, holy shit, they are not going to stop exposing themselves as...
Yeah, they're showing their own asses every time.
Yeah. And instead of like taking a moment and like saying, maybe Harry and Meghan have a point. You know, maybe we do need a diversity czar. Like, remember the diversity czar people?
Yeah.
Like, that never turned out.
That never happened, no.
They just talked about it for a year. And then they said, oh, we don't actually need a diversity czar. Like, instead of taking a beat and saying, Harry and Meghan might have a point, we can figure something out and we can try to do better. And like, that's the thing I completely do not understand about how Charles specifically has approached Harry and Meghan and like this ongoing Sussex drama for the Windsors. If Charles came out right now at this very moment and said, you know what? Every family has some sort of form of dysfunction, and we didn't treat Meghan and Harry the way we should have. And that's on us. And we're not happy with them either. And we have our reasons for that too. But from here on out, we are going to try. We're going to make an effort. And like, we're all human.
Yeah.
Like, approach it that way. Instead of like, Harry and Meghan are terrible. They accused us of being racist. They're liars too. Oh my God, you are making yourselves look so much worse.
They are. Every time. It's how they responded to the crown, too.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with Harry and Meghan, despite the fact that the same company is paying them. I mean, yeah, they've made it worse.
Yeah, it just shows how Charles has terrible instincts when it comes to family and PR. Instead of admitting his own failings as a human being, as a father, and like legitimately and honestly saying, I'm going to try to do better on this. He can't. He
They're never
refuses.
gonna do that. That's just not who they are. And they're emotionally stunted, closed off people who have been taught their whole lives that they're the most powerful family in the world. You know, they're not going to admit to being vulnerable or having personal failings. And the fact that Harry has been able to do that and grow, even though his mom was so young, he was so young when his mom passed, is incredible. You know?
Yeah, that he's been able to unlearn so much of the privilege.
Yeah, he's really grown as a person, and I'm excited to see their docuseries. Do you know how many hours it's going to be or anything?
I saw 6 episodes.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's going to be half-hour or hour-long episodes. I would assume hour-long, don't you?
Yeah, I would assume like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get a lot. And after that, Harry's memoir is going to come out next year. So in another month or so. And it's going to be
good.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on the post about Camilla Stafford resigning after she was racist to Fulani. And it's from SideEye. And I just thought this was so funny and clever. So SideEye wrote, I get asked these questions all the time, too. I am disliked in my old neighborhood because I would ask white people the same dumbass questions they would ask me. Questions like, why are you going to Jamaica for spring break? Are you from there? Blank stares. Is that your real hair? Eye color? Shocked and outraged. Where are you from? Answer, Michigan. Me. No, but where are you really from? Answer, Michigan. Me, tilting my head to the side like Sharon Clueless. Pearl clutching, anger. So, and the list goes on. It's funny because the white women in my old neighborhood used to pretend these are harmless questions when directed at women of color, but when those same exact questions were directed at them, they were suddenly deeply offended, which indicated to me that the point of them is to otherize someone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I grew up thinking that sometimes the questions are innocent. I judge it on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes someone is legitimately curious. They'll be like, oh, what kind of name is that? Because they're interested.
I did it once in college, I remember.
Yeah.
I did it to an Asian guy I was on a date with. And he got offended, and I was like, I didn't understand. It took me a while until I saw other people saying that was racist, until I was like, oh shit, I must have done that to him. And I don't remember how bad it was. I didn't think it was that bad at the time. I was like, why is he getting so offended? It confused me. And I liked him too. I would have dated him again. But yeah.
It happens to Asian people a lot. It really does.
I'm sorry that I did it to him. And then I did it.
I mean, it happens a lot. I'll just say that. And as an Indian American woman, I do judge it on a case-by-case basis. I think sometimes people are trying to offend me, or they're just being clueless and ignorant.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think the questions are kind of innocent.
I'm glad we have the internet now, and there's this whole generation of kids who grew up with that and who are so thoughtful about each other and so, caring, and they try to get things right. And that's nice to see. My son and his friends, they just...
And that counts for a lot, that they're trying to get it right.
Yeah.
Even if they don't get it right all the time, they're trying.
Yeah.
My comment of the week is from one of the stories I wrote about the White House decorations, which are beautiful, but kind of dated this year. And
yeah, they were cute.
LV wrote, I liked Melania's decorations in the sense that they accurately reflected the uncanny valley of that presidency. It would have been off-brand to do normal decorations instead of a bonkers nouveau riche hellscape aesthetic. Which is true.
Yeah, they could have done all gold and shit, which was their design before they got
everything gold Christmas would have been totally the Trump aesthetic. But instead, Melania did these really spooky hellscapes.
That was wild. And she just doesn't give a fuck. When she wore that I don't care, do you shirt to see the little kids who were locked up in cages. And she ripped up the rose garden. She's like, fuck this. I'm gonna ruin this historical rose garden.
Well, to be fair, I covered those rose garden stories. The rose garden was always going to be ripped up because they needed to do some shit underground with the pipes and all that.
Yeah.
But like she didn't have to redo it in this like really bland, like only white flower way.
Yeah,
it was the
power.
white power garden. But yeah,
God.
the Christmas decorations were just especially heinous during the Trump administration.
It was wild. They were like Halloween decorations, like his Nightmare Before Christmas over there.
But Joe Biden is such a teacher, and like I could see like a classroom decorated the way that she's decorated the White House.
She's got a 90s aesthetic. That's cool. Respect. You know, she's
a
good.
little bit 80s, really.
Yeah, right. I was giving her too much credit. All right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.